Attorney, tell me, what are the perils of indicting a popular sheriff?
Margaret, I appreciate you asking that question because, it's one of the things my staff had a tough time with. During the 16 months that we conducted this investigation, we knew we were going to be in hot water, so to speak. We know politically it was going to be a tough task. We know that the people who like Mike Byrd were going to be mad at us for indicting him. We knew the people who were mad at Mike Byrd were going to be mad at him because they would never be satisfied with the sentence we gave. So we kind of knew we were in a no-win situation, but we felt like we did it because it's the right thing to do. During the course of this investigation, me, my family, my staff were subject to a lot of harassment. I'll just call it that, I guess, for lack of a better word. But we knew we had to do what our jobs demanded, and that's why we did it.
And what would you say to people who who have questions about whether the former sheriff was treated like any other person in a similar situation with this number of charges pending?
There was so much information the grand jury had and considered, and when the charges they indicted on were considered, they found probable cause existed as to those charges. But I can tell you that the goal in every criminal prosecution is to try to be consistent and to try to be fair and follow the law. And that's what we're demanded to do, in fact, by the rules of our court as a prosecutor. We're not just a lawyer. We have to act as a minister of justice. And so in every case, when we're considering what the right result is or what the end result should be of a case, we make sure we can protect the public from future harm. That's our first goal in every case. And Mike Byrd, every act Mike Byrd took as sheriff was centered around abuse of power. And we felt like if we removed him from office, that abuse of power would stop. It would cease to exist. It would be impossible to occur again. And that was the number one goal. Now, there are many other factors we considered in reaching the resolution that we ultimately reached. And we disagreed with the sentence of the court. We wanted him to be on house arrest for longer. But there's some that wanted him to go to jail. We recognize that. But there are many and a host of factors we considered in reaching the resolution to try to make sure we follow the law, we punish the defendant, we protect the public, but we also have to consider what's the right thing to do and fair thing to do on this case is every case. And I can tell you that if you look at the factors, some of the factors, this was a 5-year felony. And people just typically don't go to jail in their first offense, 5-year felony, when they have a 40-year history of service to the community. And so that was just one factor, but there were many others. And in fact, that one factor, the prior service, was probably the smallest factor I considered in making my thing. It goes to some of those factors we were talking about earlier. There's so many things you have to consider. And I can tell you the first and number one factor is the one I've already talked about to you, and that was removing Mike Byrd from office so no future harm could occur. Also, we considered the cost to the taxpayers on a trial. 10-week, 12-week trial, you're talking 6-figure cost, the uncertainty of that trial, the result. If you look at the bond revocation hearing where I had witnesses deny my motion, things like that you have to consider on whether or not we're going to be successful at trial. You look at the witnesses changing testimony is something else we had to consider. We were concerned we were losing counts because witnesses were changing testimony. The pressure and the stress on these witnesses, these were not just witnesses in a criminal case, in a normal case. These people worked for Mike Byrd. Anytime we wanted a document, we had to subpoena someone that worked for Mike Byrd. Anytime we wanted to find out whether something did or did not happen, we asked a witness who worked for Mike Byrd. So there was a tremendous amount of pressure on these witnesses, and we felt like we needed to stop the pressure. We needed to stop the bleeding. We needed to remove Mike Byrd from office so the department could heal, the county could heal, and we could move forward and get law enforcement back on a good footing.